How's it going, internet? Back again. This time doing something a bit different. Let's turn this down a little bit. So I'm in Ableton here, as you can see. Ableton being my DAW of choice. I just wanted to talk about VCV in the context of Ableton. Not so much as like a tutorial, but just in some fun ways you can use it, and how I often use it as well. So I've got a little setup here. I've got two instances of VCV. They're both running a sequence, and they are controlling two different synths. I have this third instance here, which is really only here so I can demonstrate something, which is the fact that this is the audio unit version of VCV plugin, and the audio unit version does not allow you to send MIDI out of it, which is extremely weird. Very frustrating, because I prefer to use audio units over VSTs. I used to use PCs, so I used to use VSTs all the time. But when I moved to Mac, I sort of discovered that audio units were just kind of a bit less glitchy, just kind of better. They seem to be less process hungry as well. That's just my anecdotal experience, but I think that it's pretty accurate, honestly. This isn't to say anything about Macs versus PC. I don't even want to get into that argument. I think they're both good in their own way. This is just about audio units versus VST, and I think audio units is kind of a better platform, which is obviously not available on PC because it's Apple's plugin format. But the point is that it does not work to control other instruments in VCV. If I select track 1 here for my Pigments track, I don't have access. I can't even select VCV as an option. Like, I can select it, come from VCV rack 2, but then I don't even get the option in this second drop-down menu like I do here for the VST version, the VST3 version. So I'm just going to go back to VCV, the second track, and then I select VCV rack 2, and lo and behold, we have MIDI again. So I find that frustrating. I am just confused by it. It's been like that for ages. It hasn't been fixed. I don't know if it's going to be fixed. Maybe it's a feature, not a bug. Anyway, so yeah, I have a little sequence running, Euclidean sequencer, Sphinx, going into Brains, going into a quantizer, bit of a gate mod to increase the length of the gates, and that's it. It's just your basic generative sample and hold sequence. And that's controlling Pigments here. I also have on the Pigments track a chrono blob running in the VCV rack effects plugin. Just you know, for extra integration. And then I have this instance of Cube here, just with this kind of pad. I'll turn it up a little bit. Pretty cool synth Cube. I don't use it anywhere near as much as I probably should, because it's pretty cool. So yeah, I've just got these kind of melody and pad. It's nothing special. It's more just to demonstrate what's possible. So let's just mute them. I'm gonna open up another session, and we're gonna look at some other ways that you can use VCV in Ableton, and the way that I like to use it when I'm tracking from VCV into Ableton, because I don't like to record in VCV. I find it more of a sound design playground, and I mean, it's a modular environment. Of course it's that, but I don't really get into the whole like using modules to record audio or anything like that. If I'm going to record, I want to record directly into my DAW. I want it to be in time with the grid and the clock of my DAW, and I want it to be very integrated in that way. And you know, the plugin of VCV absolutely allows you to do that. There are other ways you can do it without owning the plugin. It's a real fuck around. And before I bought the plugin, I did try that a number of times, and it was just such a headache. That's why I ended up buying the plugin, because it's just so much simpler. Also, I don't mind dropping $150 on a product that I think is a great product. Just a quick correction, I am aware that you can use something like Cardinal or perhaps other VCV forks to achieve these similar results. And I have used Cardinal in the past before I bought VCV, and I'll just say that it was quite buggy at the time. It crashed my Ableton session numerous times, so that's why I didn't really want to use it. My 2 cents, I know it's probably much better now, but I just thought I would mention that here. Back to the video. On that note, though, I'm aware that you can use plugins like VST plugins and stuff in VCV with the host modules. I haven't purchased that pack. I do think it's kind of shit, just a little bit shit, that's not just bundled with VCV. Maybe there's a reason for that. Obviously, like a business reason, sure, but there might be another reason, a technical reason, not sure. But if I'm spending that much money on a plugin, I kind of just feel like, why can't I just have that bundled in? Just a bit of a nitpick for me, but whatever. So anyway, let's open up a different session and we can explore some tracking options. All right, let's get to it. All right, so I've just opened up a new session and I've loaded up this patch, which I featured on a recent video. It's my Sanguine Modules patch. You may remember it if you watched it. So I've just got some, I've just made a few little changes. So basically I've imported this audio 16, connected it up to channels 1 and 2. Prior to this, I was using just the single stereo output audio unit, and it's set up with the DAW. It's not clocked to the DAW though, it's still using clocker here. So what I'm going to do is bring in a MIDI to CV device, and I'm just going to chuck that in there. And stop it, and then if I hit it run again, nothing will happen. But if I go to Ableton and hit spacebar, we start again. So I just want it to be clocked to my session, and I want to have multi-track output here. Now, I'm not going to actually multi-track this today, it's more just a demonstration, because this is pretty big undertaking, because when you track, there are some little foibles that I find a little bit frustrating. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move my patch bay, my Venom patch bay over here, and I'm just going to take these, I'm going to get rid of this stereo, and I'm going to take this, put it there, and I'm going to take number 2 and put it there. And you may notice that it's completely left and right. And I'm just going to mute that for a second. And this is one of the things about tracking in VCV that I find a little bit frustrating. When you bring this drop-down menu here, I'm just going to maybe move this over a bit so it's not conflicting with my little picture-in-picture. But if I bring this drop-down menu here, you've got 3 to 4, or 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, and so on. But you don't have just 3 or just 4. It's always stereo tracks. You can, of course, get around this. And also, there's no 1 and 2. You just that's just the direct input. So So that's just a bit dumb, I think. So I'll go to 3 and 4. We'll go back to VCV, and instead of putting it there, let's put it into 3 and 4. And then let's go back to Ableton, and we've got it coming in here, but I have to monitor it, or alternatively, I have to put the record on. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to put a utility on both of them. This one's going to be the left, and the other one is going to be the right. So we just get those coming out of it, and then if I hit. So now we're just getting like a mono track in. It's kind of clipping a little bit. I'm just going to chuck a Pro L2 on the output, just so we don't clip. And so, yeah, now we've just got, if I record a little bit of audio, we're still getting the stereo recording. Like, we're getting the left and the right, and they're completely separate. And so the way I combat this is I just, let's just get rid of that. So now when I play it, we're still gonna, if I undo this utility, I realize that my picture-in-picture is covering the utility. There's nothing I can do about that, I guess. But if I undo the utility, we get both. And now we just get one because it's just the left track. And then I just will freeze the track and flatten the track. And now we just have a stereo track where both sides, both channels are identical, as if it was a mono. So that's kind of an annoying fuck around where it's just like, why don't you just give me the options to the individual outputs? If that's wrong, if there's another way to do it, please let me know. But from what I can tell, there's absolutely no way to do it. There's no option in here as far as I can tell. Yeah, no buttons to click to make it work in that way. A little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. So for this, I would just hook up all of these tracks to every single channel, and we would get how many? Quite a few, I would imagine. Oh, this one, actually. Yeah, this one is a stereo track, so let's bring it over here. In fact, some of these other ones are stereo tracks as well. That's a bit annoying. Let's get rid of that and bring this in there. And then this one, let's get rid of that. Put that there. Put that there. And then this one can be there. And we've got another 2 stereo tracks here, so let's just bring them in. You may have also noticed that there are limitations on the number of tracks. I feel like if you're working above 16 tracks out of VCV, I mean, it's hard, you rarely reach that limit anyway, and there are things you can do to circumvent that as a limitation. But now, I would have to set up all of these tracks, all these audio tracks, just bring in a whole bunch of them, select VCV on all of them, and just select, the individual tracks and bring them in, and then we get them tracking in. I'm not entirely sure why these other channels are not happening. Like 9 and 10, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Nothing's coming out of them. Is that just because we are stopped? Let's just stop that. Run it again. Yeah, there we go. So now we're getting it coming into each track, but as you can see, some of these are stereo. Some of these aren't, like this first one. This one is just coming in on the left channel, so we would need to put a utility on it and put it just onto the left channel. It's still coming in just on the left, but now we're just hearing the left. And this is a pad, stereo pad. So yeah, that's kind of how I tend to do it. Well, it's the only way, really, to do it, as far as I'm concerned. And it can be a bit fiddly, but the results can be good. As I will show you right now by opening up a session that I prepared earlier. So let's check that out. All right, so here we are in another session. I have my VCV up the top. It's currently not doing anything because I've already tracked in my audio. So I have here multiple tracks, got like about 6.5 minutes of audio. Let's just listen to it, just really quick. Turn this down. So it's important to note that I have tracked this in. I actually tracked the drums and the other stuff, the synths, sort of separately, but not intentionally. I actually recorded them all at once together, but then there was some clipping on some tracks, so I had to re-record some other bits, but the drums are kind of separate from the melodic elements, whereas the melodic and harmonic elements, the synths, they sort of, the melodies interact together. So like I had to record them together, but the drums could be done separately, and that's fine. I've got this pad here. That's actually the same audio track on every single one. It's just duplicated, and I'm just processing them differently, just with different reverbs. I could have done this in a different way, but this, like with using return tracks or something, and I did actually use some return tracks as well to bring the effects from that patch into here. So in the patch, if I bring that up, you'll notice at the top I have Plateau, Chronoblob, Realities, and Galaxy going into my master mixer. It's usually how I have it set up. Probably know that from the videos that I post. And so I just brought them all in as return tracks here as well, just using the VCV effects units. And so they're all present. So I'm using them as well. This is another thing that happens with VCV. It's just interface glitching until you make it bigger, and then it's fine. I don't know why that is. This actually only started happening when I got this Mac, which is an M2 Max. It didn't happen on my Intel Mac before that, so whatever. But it's fine. So yeah, I've got them on the returns. And then everything else is just getting a little bit, like I haven't finished working on this at all, but like my main drum beat here, I've got some processing on it, of course, because I'm in Ableton, I can use all of my plugins that I like to use. And I can really process the shit out of stuff, and yeah. And so I've done a bit of processing on all this stuff, a little bit of EQ. Haven't dramatically affected everything, but I've done a little bit of processing. And I've got my pads here, which I've got multiple different reverbs on. All of my favorite reverbs on every track: Sparkburb, Black Hole, Valhalla Shimmer, Valhalla Vintage, and then this one's just dry with some compression. And then the output of the group, I'm going into these some of these return tracks as well. So it's very lush. It didn't sound that lush in VCV, I can tell you that much. Not that I'm saying you can't get there in VCV, but you can take it so much further when you bring it out into the DAW like this. And like, I like to have maximum control over my tracks and my productions. Some people would be happy just recording directly into Ableton as a stereo pair, and that's totally valid, but this is the way I like to do it. I think you get so much more control, and I can really make the sounds, you know, sound huge. It's just beautiful stuff. Absolutely love these pads. They just sound massive, you know? And then I've got these synths here, which I'm also sending to the return tracks. I haven't actually got any other processing on this first one. On this second one, I've got a little bit of compression, some EQ. So yeah, it just sounds massive. And yeah, it's the same setup as I just showed before. I've just got my Audio 16 going out into here. And back in Ableton, any of these ones that needed to be from mono to stereo or whatever, I've done that. Like this one here has been frozen because it was just a single channel. You can see it says freeze. So yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about multi-tracking into Ableton. And it's a bit fiddly, but it's totally doable. And for me, this is the way I like to do it. When I bring things from VCV into Ableton, this is how it is. And, you know, there are going to be instances where I don't need to clock it because the patch itself is extremely unclocked, or it's a modulated clock or whatever. And in those instances, fine, it doesn't need to be on the grid, but I would still prefer to have it multi-tracked so I can mix it very effectively. So yeah, I realize this is maybe a bit counter to what a lot of other people might like to do, and some people are VCV purists or modular purists or whatever, and they just want to record directly out their finished patch. Totally respect that, but this is how I like to do it, and I just wanted to talk about it today. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you liked it. I've got a whole bunch of other videos happening at the moment, which you might be interested in. I've got my PhD project that I'm working on, which I'm continually releasing videos about. They're very freeform. They're kind of just me either talking through or working through in Ableton, making music with AI-generated content. So yeah, go check that out. I've also started a Substack about that, which I'll leave a link in the description if anybody's interested in checking that out. And yeah, I'm also doing my machine drum video series, Making Beats, which is up to the 5th episode now. You should go check that out if you have any interest in drum synthesis and electron drum machines. And yeah, just that whole process of making beats. And yeah, of course, there's Patchwork with Miles, as there will be, hopefully forever. So yeah, let me know what you think, like and subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you next time. Bye.